All righty. Welcome back to another Tuesday, 8 o'clock. I got the trusty technician sitting over here, and they're all doing the wave over here. Anyway, hopefully, Pat, I've been chewing on chocolate. So if I'm talking a little faster than my mouth or my brain is thinking, I apologize for that. But anyway, welcome to another Tuesday episode of the Raul Reyes Show, where we talk politics and just about anything else you want to talk about, just whatever comes to mind. So we actually are home builders, so we just do this for fun, and that's why it's called politics and banter. So you get what you get. What you pay for, I guess. So, so in any case, all that said, let's have a conversation about politics. And so, all that in mind, don't forget to share, hit the share button, and let folks know that we're on here. We advertise this every Tuesday morning. Eventually, we're going to advertise every day. But for now, welcome to the one other hour episode of the Raul Reyes Show. We are going to have Frank Lopez on here in a little while. We'll cue him here in about 15, 20 minutes if he wants to come on board. But hopefully you saw the Sunday episode. We pay tribute to the good Lord on Sundays. We have our friends and pastors, so don't forget to check us out on Sundays at 7 o'clock. Is that correct? Yep, 7 o'clock. And then sometime today or tomorrow, you're going to get an email from me. And for the most part, it's asking, hey, where do you stand on potentially Raul Reyes running for Congress one more time? And so, again, we're working to send that email out to a large email database that we've gathered over the last 4 years, especially from Congressional District 23. So all that said, stand by for that. Linda Ruski is actively trying to get that up and running, and or the database inserted into the email gonculator so that we can send you a message. And again, no, we're not asking you for money or anything. We're just asking you, do you support another congressional run against now what is Will Hurd number 2, Tony Gonzalez? So with all that in mind, let me show you a couple of things that are happening here. The first one is not such a good thing here. If you saw this earlier on, this is a few days back here. And the tragedy of an open border looks like this. And among many other things that are happening out there, this is 8 people dead. 17-year-old is responsible for this illegal alien who was released, I think, one time, released back to his mother after he had evaded folks somewhere already once. And instead of prosecuting him or sending him back to his home country, literally he got to do this again. And in this time, he's actually dead himself, along with 7 other innocent people. So this is kind of what's happening out in the border. It's not pretty. It's not, I mean, it's what we live with here. Anywhere near here, this is what we're dealing with every day. And if you've been down to Kinney County, our good friend Sheriff Brad Coe and all his deputies, and of course the law enforcement down there, of just having hell with this kind of activity. I think they're averaging 1 car chase a day. And if you're anywhere between El Paso and all the way to San Antonio, all the way down to Eagle Pass, heck, all the way to Brownsville, the whole place is literally militarized. And a lot of it has to do with it's just a broken political system, and more importantly, Joe Biden's failed border policies. I'm not even sure they're failed border policies, because they're actually intentional. Anybody who still thinks that whatever he's doing isn't working, actually it's working exactly like they wanted. They wanted an invasion, they created it, and here we are. And the problem is not just Democrats, it's a bunch of Republicans that for the most part are in bed with Democrats, making lots of money off the NGOs that are bringing in children from all over the world now. And the worst part here is now we have special interest people, I guess is what they call them. I'll have to ask Frank when he comes on board. And what that is we're having terrorists come through the southern border. We've caught, I don't know, something like 200 that were on the active list. But here's the crazy part: how many have we not caught? And you just have to look at places like England, even Washington, D.C. here in those last few days or last couple of weeks. There's Palestinian supporters protesting in our own country, in England, in France, everywhere else, Poland. People are waking up to the nightmare that is when you bring in, thousands and thousands of people, millions in this case here in the United States, without a plan to assimilate them. You end up with a large group of people who don't grow up believing that America, even though they want to be here, that America is a place you can fulfill your dreams. And some of these people are here purposely to convert, change, transform, whatever the right word is, this country into something else, because they want America down on its knees. And Joe Biden is certainly helping with all that. Of course, many Republicans are doing that as well. You've heard me say this time and time and time again. If you look at what's happened in Austin, they went after Ken Paxton. Imperfect as he may be, with whatever his personal life is, he was the only one beating down on Joe Biden. And and guess what? 60 Republicans, along with a lot of Democrats, decided that they were going to impeach him. Today, we're on our fourth legislative session, potentially the fifth, because we can't get border security. That's not happened yet. Your taxes, by the way, just keep going up and up. And you're helping to fund Operation Lone Star, which isn't really stopping anything. It's just spending money on making Greg Abbott look like he's doing something. But just this past month, and you just have to look at our friend Alden Cabello's Twitter account, 287,000 in the month of October. That's like 2 Abilene, Texases, and maybe 2.5 San Angelo, Texas. That might be an eighth or a quarter of San Antonio, Texas population. That's what I'm talking about here. If you live out in Lubbock, they've got about 180. So you might have a 1.5 Lubbocks worth of people coming in. And that's just in 1 month. And what does that get you? It gets you a whole lot of these scenarios here where innocent people are dying because we just refuse to do the right thing. And let me say this, for a lot of folks, if you just read the Constitution, the great state of Texas could have done something about this a long, long time ago. But anyway, always the border when it comes to having these conversations, not just the failed policies of Joe Biden. Actually, I think they're purposeful policies of Joe Biden. And then, of course, the inability for a feckless Republican Party to do anything about it, which is why I always mention the 60 yahoos who impeached Ken Paxton, because up at the federal level, we got plenty of Republican yahoos who are doing nothing. One of them is our very own Tony Gonzalez here. We're going to have a conversation about him later. I mean, you just can't have a Congressional District 23 area podcast like this and not have a conversation about our congressman, because he's now trying to salvage his career. I don't think he's going to make it, and I'm going to prove it toward the end of this show. But all that said, the border continues to be just a mess. 8 innocent people have died, 7, and then of course the one guy who ran into all of them, actually. And this is happening across South Texas continuously, every day. But just let's kind of go around the room. I've got a couple of pictures I just want to throw up here and have a 1 to 2 minute conversation about. Let me bring this one up here. So this is Patrick's VTEC pointing out that North Texas has a lot of open seats. And that first name at the top, Fallon, he's actually a congressman, a former senator, Texas senator in SD or Senate District 30. He went on to run for Congress, and he became the Texas 4th Congressional District congressman representative for Texas. He has since, the word is that he is not going to run for re-election, and he's going to go back to run for his Senate seat. Kay Granger, this is the lady that was the appropriations chairman. She's given up the ghost here. She's decided she's not going to run again. And a lot of it is because they've been slammed at the appropriations committee, because these are the same folks. Kay Granger she's one of these big rhinos. and they just want to spend money on wars and skirmishes that make them and the military industry very, very rich. These other ones here, all red is of course, I think he's the guy who's running against Roland Gutierrez in the Democrat primary for the Texas or the federal level Senate seat that will then in November challenge Ted Cruz. And we'll have something to say about that here as well toward the end. All these other folks. And why am I saying this? Because if you look at CD23, we've got a cat running down here who lives in this area, but decided to come all the way down to CD23 to run. And I'm going to say it out loud. Victor Avila is in CD23. A lot of you know him. I don't understand why, with all these open seats, he's down here. Not necessarily bashing him. What I'm saying is, if if he were to go head to head with a guy like Tony Gonzalez, he would say, well, why didn't you stay in your home area and run for this congressional or state or Senate and House district? Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. My point is there's a lot of places for uh, locals like a Victor to go run, but somehow they're down here, which leads me to my next point, which is, look, we've been fooled many times, and we're not going to be fooled again. Doesn't matter, who you are or aren't, but the bottom line is Congressional District 23 is going to get really heated up soon. Let me point this one out here real quick too. Let me see, and I got to darken it because then I look kind of weird in the background here. But I want to talk a little about the Virginia House delegates that here in the last week or so reclaim Democrats reclaim the Virginia House. And remember, Youngkin is a Republican. Virginia is one of those places. And let me see if I can put this other one up here real quick. There. Youngkin and Virginia Republicans react to election loss. And look at that last part. Virginia is really purple. And the reason I bring this up, because this is sort of the situation we're going to have here in Texas. And let me put this other one here real quick. The point here is that Democrats have regained control of the Virginia House. And if you were to look at all this from the media perspective, they're using Virginia as a showcase of the rebuke of Republican policies. One of them is abortion. But then you look at what Republicans are saying out there, and they're saying, well, Virginia is really purple. So let's address that as it relates to Texas. If you look at the 60 Republicans who went to impeach Ken Paxton with the Democrats in support, that'll tell you that we have the same situation here in Texas that they have in Virginia. Now, right after that election loss, the whole, mainstream media, the sellouts, they all came out and said, "Oh, it's abortion." See, that's what you get for embracing, or not embracing, but going against abortion and a women's right and all this other stuff. Well, let me shed a little light on that, just for all of you who are wondering, what exactly does this mean? When Roe versus Wade was overturned, the intent, as the Supreme Court has acknowledged, what a lot of us already knew, is that those issues like gay marriage, abortion, all those things need to be resolved at the state level. So I'll make this first point about abortion and the alleged rebuke of abortion policies in Virginia. One, that is a local issue, and if that's what they decided, that's all there is to it. Has nothing to do with Trump or the federal level. I remind you, Virginia flip-flops and has mostly been Democrat for the last 10, 12 years. It wasn't until recently Youngkin actually won as a Republican and they flipped the House. But here's what happened, and kind of what's happening in Texas. Those people in Virginia woke up to a reality in that a lot of their so-called Republicans were a bunch of rhinos. So they can't win in a general or a election, because guess what? They're like a Tony Gonzalez. They're like a Dade Phelan. How many of you would vote for Andrew Murr right now, or Dade Phelan for that matter, Briscoe Kane? Pick any of those rhinos up there that try to impeach Ken Paxton in the primaries. They should be gone. But if they're not, what I say is going to happen to Texas is what has happened to Virginia. We're going to lose the House because people, let me rephrase that, real Republican, the base, the conservative Republican base of the GOP, of the Texas Republican Texas Party, is going to rebuke any rhino that is seen in November, which is why, and if you bring it back to just the state level, it's imperative that you get out to vote and you literally go support real conservatives, real Christians, pragmatic business people who want to solve taxes, who want to solve real problems about what's happening to our educational system. And yes, when it comes to abortion and the LGBT and all these different social issues, that they solve them at the state level. Because really, that's exactly why the Supreme Court sent it back. It was not the federal government's business to tell us what to do with abortion. What one bit. So all I can tell you is part of what we're seeing here is what's going to happen to a bunch of rhinos in November if we don't get rid of them in the primaries. Now let's go to the congressional runs here across the United States. We've got a whole lot of folks that are now taking up a lot of these rhinos, people who we've awakened to realize, hey, the answer is that you're literally you're not a Republican, you see. And what I'll say is not all things here are about just Tony Gonzalez, but he's a perfect example of what's happening in the Republican Party and why we have a civil war. And I'm going to show you a couple of things here. He's hung a right, and but we're going to spotlight him so bad it's not even funny. So let me just bring up a few other things here. If you didn't know it, we're not going to have a government shutdown. Okay. Uh, you can see a lot of Democrats voted with Republicans to literally pass a bill to keep us funded all the way through February. Now, here's what I'll say about the new speaker when it comes to this. McCarthy had something like 8 months to put individual bills so that we don't have these huge omnibus bills, literally paying an additional $2 trillion on top of the $4 trillion that it takes to run the government and running deficits. So I would never have voted for this because there's no stop measure for the board. There's nothing here that allows us to tell the Biden regime, go to hell, because we we're pinging over here. We're literally still going to have open borders. Now, that said, we're giving the speaker an opportunity to sort of get things together between now and February. And I don't know exact date, but if you wanted to know, the government isn't going to shut down anytime soon. And looks like we're going all the way through February. I'm 100% sure that our rhino, Tony Gonzalez, voted for this. And so that's not going to be a surprise here for anybody. But let's go here for a second. Let's leave that one there for a minute, because I actually want to talk to Frank about that here in a little bit. So all that said, let me go back to Virginia and what's going to happen to the great state of Texas if 60 rhinos at the state level don't get removed in the primaries. We're going to have the House flip. And listen, that's not what I want. That's not what anybody wants. But the Republican Party is so out of touch, completely out of touch with its base right now, that's not even funny. In fact, I want to play this because I want to share this, and then here in about 5 or 10 minutes we'll bring Frank on here real quick. But let me show you this. Now, a lot of you've probably seen this, but this is one of the Republican candidates for president, Vivek Ramaswamy. I can never say his last name. I don't mean it disrespectful. I just can't say it. And what he's doing, he's slamming Ronna McDaniel. And we call her Ronna McRomney because she's related to Mitt Romney. And the worst thing we could have done was put this lady in place. And why I think the RNC is completely out of touch. It's supporting people like, pick another rhino. You can always just go to Tony Gonzalez here for this. But let me show you this here real quick. Let's roll this.
Swami, let me turn to you. Please make your case. Why should you be the nominee and not the former president?
I think there's something deeper going on in the Republican Party here, and I am upset about what happened last night. We've become a party of losers at the end of the day. It was a cancer in the Republican establishment.
Yeah, let me tell you why we keep losing. Because, and he's going to make the point here, we keep supporting people that are not like the base, not like the Republican base. And unfortunately, I mean, we can't get away from this inept one congressman that's here local is Tony Gonzalez, you see, because you can apply this to everybody out there. And so let's just keep going here before I get too off.
Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018, 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party. For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you. And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. We'd have 10 times the viewership, asking questions that GOP primary voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party. Do you think the Democrats, and we've got Kristen Welker here, do you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate?
No.
They wouldn't do it. And so the fact of the matter is, I mean, Kristen, I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment. Ask you, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years, was that real or was that Hillary Clinton made up disinformation? Answer the question.
Yeah, answer the question. They're never going to do that because part of what they do is just keep going from one crisis to the other. But here's the point, and I'm not endorsing this guy. I think he's well spoken, but I mean, this guy's never going to be president, and he may be doing this because he wants Ronna McDaniel's post when they're done with this presidential primary. What I will tell you is that he's making an excellent point about who we have as the RNC chair right now, and the good news for us is McCarthy is now gone. So El Papi Chulo for a guy like Tony Gonzalez or any of these other rhinos that are out there, they're gone. Now, you know, if you got $1 million or $2 million, it's not going to help you. Jeb Bush has proven you don't have enough money because people are now tired of what's happening within the Republican Party. We have absolutely nobody with a backbone fighting Democrats. Absolutely. And I mean, you got to give it to Vivek here because he's actually looking at Ronna in public saying, listen, we've lost everything since you've been the RNC chair. And all that's happened to the Republican Party is we're a subsidiary of the Democrat Party. Nobody up there is fighting. You got like a Matt Gaetz, which is fantastic. And by the way, Matt Gaetz called out Tony Gonzalez multiple times. And good on him because we need to get rid of these people who have just been a cancer to the Republican Party, who have done absolutely zero, nothing. And then you wonder why people have given up on just about anything with the federal government. But the good news is there's patriots standing up, and they're going to come out hard in the primaries to try to get rid of some of these people. If they get by, for instance, if a Tony Gonzalez gets by into the November election, just as an example, like a Briscoe Kane, a Dade Feeling, because they have money, they will lose in November because guess what? The base is going to sit down. I contend this. Texas isn't blue. It's not even moderate. They still love their guns. They love their babies. They want low taxes, and they want the federal government to get the hell out of their lives. The problem is that RNC chairs like Ronna McDaniel, like Kevin McCarthy, former speaker, are running cowards like a Tony Gonzalez in our primaries. So you get no good choice. I remember the mayor's run here in Bexar County, San Antonio. Oh, it was Greg, whatever his last name was, and then the current mayor. the turnout for that race was something like 11% in the city. And I remember one of the pastors saying, why didn't anybody go out and vote for Greg? Well, because Greg was just as liberal as the mayor of San Antonio. So when you get one liberal and another, really, people are not going to sacrifice their integrity for any of those things. And so the RNC hasn't figured out how to run real people. The proof is in Donald Trump. Okay, because nobody thought he could win, and all he did was he spoke the message that everybody knew needed to happen, like build a wall, secure the border, lower taxes, get the hell out of every skirmish across the globe, stop sending our kids to places that are not good, any wars, and life is going to be great. And guess what? They had to literally mail in thousands and thousands of mail-in ballots just to get that guy out of there. And that happened to us on election night. Tony Gonzalez knows one thing. Somebody pulled it out of their ass for him in the middle of the night because we had him licked. He's lucky. We haven't quite decided, but we're going to do it again. We already beat him once. We're going to do it again. And we're going to go talk to a guy that potentially is going to be in the race as well. So when you have this many conservatives, there's zero reasons why anybody would vote for Tony Gonzalez. If he doesn't know it yet, you're not going to get through the primaries. And if you do, by the skinny chin, because you got a lot of people to pick up your ballots or whatever the case may be, November's a done deal because everybody's going to get rid of you. That said, let me bring on board my good friend Frank Lopez here, the U.S. Border Patriot. Frank, how are you, sir?
Hey, Ro. Doing good. Can you hear me, bro?
Yep, I got you loud and clear. Frank, I want to show this real quick before you go. I started to show this. Let me see if I've got the right one here. Let's see. Is this one? Yeah, not that one. Let me go here. This is a couple of months ago, and I did my best to highlight in red. This is Congressman Tony Gonzalez isn't on board with impeaching Mayorkas. You and I had this conversation. This is part of why he got censured and amongst many other things, because he's really not a Republican. But then look at this. And this is Gonzalez pushing everybody to follow suit on MTG's impeachment of Mayorkas, saying enough is enough. Brother, tell me, do you know what happened? What changed his mind?
I think he didn't like that taco that he had with him down in Cotula. I don't know if you recall, but Gonzalez met with Mayorkas. They sat down, had some tacos, and right after that, Tony Gonzalez comes out and gives some lame excuse about, well, we need to reserve impeachment for severe situations. And Tony is such a tapado, brother. You know what I mean? He's such a tapado. What could be more severe than your country's being invaded? People are coming in with diseases that God only knows what. We've got freaking terrorists coming into our country. Our local counties, hospital districts, cities are struggling under the weight of housing, feeding, clothing these illegal aliens. And the guy does not know what the word severe is. Why? Because I think the guy is severely brain damaged. But Tony Gonzalez needs to go, bro, because he is doing exactly what we knew he was going to do, Raul. He was going to make a hard right. This guy has no shame. He was the only Republican to vote with the Democrats on the rules package. Immediately after he ran all those ads against me that I was going to vote with Pelosi, that is the first thing he went and did. He voted with Pelosi and the Democrats on the rules package. But we knew he was going to make the hard right turn because the guy has no morals, Raul. He is not centered. He is just a froth on waves. The Bible talks about people like him. They're just leaves fluttering in the air, whatever way the wind blows. And like they say, no tiene vergüenza. He is just a shameless guy.
Well, pues se vendió desde muy temprano. I mean, the guy sold out a long time ago. And let me show a couple of pictures here.
And people are tired of that, bro. People see that.
Yeah, let me just show these couple of pictures. What I'm showing here is Representative Tony Gonzalez. And remember, Frank, this is his first tenure because he's still not wearing the fancy suits, right? He's still pretending like he knows how to wear boots. But here he is. This is the Annunciation House in El Paso. He's hanging out with Mayorkas. And then, of course, this was the early on. This is like 10 days into his first tenure. I mean, here he is meeting with, who's this lady? Wheeler? Is that the...
Is that Valeria Wheeler?
Yeah, La Wife the Eagle Pass Leader News, I don't know, chief
Editor.
executive, whatever he does, editor. These are people that just sort of burn you and me and anybody who gets in their way. They get paid to do that stuff. And then, of course, this is the office Endeavors. You actually went there, is that correct? And proved that Tony had an office at the at the facilities of Endeavors, right?
Went inside, went into the lobby, looked at the the room menu or whatever locator that they have there in the lobby, and it was there. The sign is still outside the last time I was there, which was maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago. But Raul, what I was going to say is I was traveling to El Paso this weekend to visit one of my sons out there. I had the opportunity along the way to speak with elected officials, several different places, and the consensus is out on Tony. They see through him. They know what he is, and so he might come into town, and they're going to give him the niceties. They're going to be civil with the guy. They're going to talk with him, but they know what he is. He is a political animal who will say anything, do anything to get elected. And down here in Texas, people hate that about a person. He because that when the stuff hits the fan, he is not going to stand with you. He's not going to fight with you, and he's going to betray you. And people know this about Tony Gonzalez.
I wonder why MTG is hanging out with dudes. I literally yesterday got a I don't know if you did, but I've got the the little text that says, hey, dial in or whatever. And I mean, this guy can't have a town hall on his own. I don't understand that. Well, I do. I mean, the guy's a moron. And
he's a coward, Raul. He's a coward. He's not going to have an open forum. He's not going to announce, hey, he's not going to say, look, on November whatever, December whatever, I'm going to be in Del Rio. Come one, come all. And certainly, if he were to announce that, he's going to make sure that either we're not in there or he would just never do it. Why even go down that road? He's not going to do it. He is a coward. He doesn't want to be asked questions. But the reason I believe that he's hanging out with MTG to a certain extent, one of the reasons, there could be several, is because this is a dynamic you and I have seen during election season.
Oh, yeah.
People run around endorsing others. And they don't do their research. They don't do their vetting. Nikki Haley endorsed this guy.
He's looking for a lifeline. He's looking for a lifeline, bro. Yeah,
and they don't endorse. Look, I've been asked to endorse people, and I haven't done that. Maybe one or two folks, but one of the questions that should definitely be asked is, do you have an opponent?
Yeah.
And that's the first litmus test. That is the way that you first test this person's honesty. Because if he says I don't, and then you find out he does, then don't endorse him because he's a liar. But if they're honest with you and say, yeah, you know what, I got an endorsement, then you have a due diligence as an endorser to go and check out these people. Now, you and I both know that there are endorsements for hire. You can pay for an endorsement from the live action, whatever the anti-abortion group is, endorsed Tony several times, and other groups, and you can buy those endorsements, and that's what he does because he doesn't have any morality.
I doubt seriously that the Trumpster is going to endorse this guy. In fact, the word is that he absolutely abhors Tony Gonzalez, like you wouldn't believe.
Well, I as a matter of fact, today I was sent. Seth sent me a video today, and it's the one where the president was fixing to walk onto the helicopter, and he was asked about certain races. One of them was Tuberville, the senator right now that was doing all that stuff with the promotions in the Department of Defense. But the other one that President Trump back then in 2020 brought up was what's his name? The former surgeon up north. Ronnie
Jackson.
He brought that one up, and then he talked about your race. Remember that he talked about your race, and he said, "Look, I got into this race late, but it looks like Gonzalez is going to come back. But the other guy, Reyes, was a good choice as well." Well, I'll tell you what, that was a colossal mistake by Trump. That was a colossal mistake. And what he did is he endorsed the guy that was not from the district. He endorsed the carpetbagger. He did not endorse the local boy. And so this is what you get. And so that was certainly egg in Trump's face. That was a colossal mistake by Trump. And I'll say it, brother. It was a mistake. And so if this gets out to Trump one way or another, hey, look, I'm in this race, endorse a local guy. If anybody else jumps in, like perhaps you, Raul, then he's going to have a tough choice, bro.
What I would say is Mr. President, who we still endear the America First, and we've said this from day one. We called ourselves I call myself the Trump Republican. Then I believe in the America First policies that he put out there. And but listen, I really think he's going to do the right thing. He's going to come your way or mine or both, and just go, listen, whatever the case may be, it's time for Tony to get out, and we're not going to have to pay for it. I'm pretty sure. Frank, let me play this real quick. I want to show you this. This is how just toxic this dude has been. Let me set it up for the audience. This is a video that Matt Gaetz put together. I cut out a little piece here that just talks about our representative here, and how Matt Gaetz is just saying a lot of what, and this is what you said earlier, the rules packages was key, and Tony was trying to insert himself as some important dude in this whole process. All he did was he got the smite beat out of him by Matt Gaetz, and now he's on the radar with Trump in all the wrong ways. So let me run this here real quick, and then we can commentary after that.
Was there anything specific you were asking for in that dramatic end period that we all witnessed?
Yeah, what was at issue in the 14th and 15th vote was the one-person motion to vacate, because a more moderate Republican, Tony Gonzalez, was going to vote against the rules package that ensconced this one-member motion to vacate, a key accountability tool. I was pointing over at where Tony Gonzalez sat to say, hey, McCarthy, you got to let me know that he's alone here. And that
was there anything specific?
Yep.
Yeah. So. By the way, the video I've got the full length video. All credits go to Matt Gaetz. He produced this, and it's a great, I think, I don't know, 3-5 minute video, and it showcases the fall of McCarthy, which has got to be one of the best political moves I've ever seen. At least it gives breathing room to conservatives like you and I, Frank, that if we jump into this race, or people jump into other races across America, that McCarthy's no longer an obstacle. Now, sure, there's this establishment on the backside. I'm not liking that MTG's hanging out with Tony, although she's made a few moves here lately that just sort of showcase that maybe she wasn't all that conservative to begin with. But when you see this right here, I think, to be honest with you, McCarthy just sort of used Mr. Gonzalez here, because Tony's too much of an idiot to figure this out on his own. I mean, I just don't see it. Do you?
Yeah. So what I was gonna say earlier, MTG's hanging out because a lot of these people don't do their homework, Raul. Elon Musk came down here with Tony Gonzalez, and he got such a backlash on his own platform about hanging out with one of the most, if not the most hated guy in Texas.
Yeah, he's not even moderate, bro. He's not even moderate. The guy's a Democrat. That's all there is to it, right?
Yeah, and so I think that's part of the reason she's hanging out. And look, Kevin McCarthy still has about $17 million that he's going to pour into races. And so Tony Gonzalez, we all know, was deep diving up McCarthy's rear end as far as deep as he could. He was like doing a deep sea diver with a hose so he could be up in there all day, all evening.
Salió todo prietito.
Because he's just that type, bro. He's just a sycophant, and he has no shame. He's a shameless sycophant. But McCarthy has the money. MTG knows that Tony is a lambiscon, and so they want to get close to that money. That's what it's all about. I think.
By the way, that's Spanish for suck ass. I mean, I'm just pardon my. I'll say it. By the way, it's sort of PG here, so I apologize for that.
Well, we're grown men here. Look, we've been in tough environments, brother. We have been in places where literally, death could come knocking at any moment. I mean, you were down in South and Central America, and every day that I walk the line with my fellow agents, Border Patrol agents out there, brother, we know. And so you need a certain hardness. You need to have a certain shell. And this is a real world, the real world of people who are willing to go to tread where angels fear to tread. Tony Gonzalez has played up his military service también with a bunch of dishonor. People know what he is. and about his service. He's made so many references to his service, but he is a shameless coward. And look, the reason I'm hitting on him so hard is because, like you, Raul, we've studied this guy. We know this guy, and a lot of what has happened to our district, a lot of the loss of life, regardless of nationality or immigration status, a lot of the sexploitation of little boys and little girls getting their innards ripped out by rapists has to do with Tony Gonzalez and his actions.
Yeah, listen, he got in bed with the NGOs, and now he's pretending like I didn't do any of that. I mean, what does he think? And I got to tell you, listen, this is why, and I know you're contemplating and or actually doing it, and we are as well. Final decisions to be made here, but I don't see how he gets away with this. I mean, he's going to have the guy that went after him last year and the guy that went after him the year before, who actually beat him, and numbers show that you actually did a lot better than the numbers publicized really show, because somehow a lot of votes just sort of disappeared in the middle of the night when he was running against, I forget who the Democrat was, but you were running in there as well. Here's what I'll say before you answer that. A lot of people, and that's my point earlier with the monologue, is that, like Virginia, people are not finding any solutions in the Republican Party with people like McCarthy, maybe Scalise, even Jim Jordan now, who I think also was helping Tony with some things, and even especially a guy like Gonzalez, right? So nobody wants to be a Democrat, because how far left do you have to go before you realize, okay, we're no longer part of that Democrat Party? And so a lot of folks are finding themselves as independents. And that's why you were there, and it looked like you were neck and neck with him and what's the other, who was the Democrat running there, Frank, that one time?
John Lida.
Yeah, John Lida. Right now John Lida, unfortunately, didn't really put up a fight, so he sort of got what he deserved. But you were in there smacking Tony around, and so it's not like you're not going to have an impact. And if I jump in, then listen, this is going to be newsworthy, because we would look at a guy like Trump and say, look, Mr. President, just make it right. Make it right and slam this guy to get him out of here, because this is exactly what's wrong with the Republican Party. And you saw the video earlier with Vivek telling Ronna McDaniel to just come up to the stage and resign, because nothing good has happened while she's in leadership. And I think it's purposeful, Frank. I said earlier, I think the Republican Party under this leadership with people like Gonzalez and all these rhinos, they want to be a subsidiary of the Democrat Party, because I have yet to see J6 videos. I have yet to see an impeachment of anybody. In fact, 8 Republicans yesterday, right, decided to save Mayorkas. And Tony would have been on there if it wasn't for MTG and the fact that everybody knows he's in trouble down here. Now you saw me earlier, and I'm not afraid to say it here, but we've got some candidates in here. I showed this picture earlier, Frank. Look at North Texas here. It's absolutely littered with opportunities, and yet we've got a guy that lives up there running down here. This is why I'm contemplating jumping in, because or else Mr. Gonzalez is going to go on to a 5th term. I know you're in, so this is going to be a doozy one, I think. What do you think?
Well, so a couple of things real quick. The only way that Tony Gonzalez wins is because they cheat again, bro. That's it. That's the only way. They cheated against you in the middle of the night. You were ahead. They knew it. And then my race, the first 15 minutes of the race, I lose 36,000 votes, bro. We all saw it. People saw it all over the place. So the only way he wins this 3rd time is if he cheats. But look, I posted several months back. I'd have to go and look for the date. And I said something to the effect of, the real question in the upcoming CD23 race is, who is the establishment going to put in here? Who is the establishment going to get placed in this race as a hedge, as a way to hedge their bet?
Yeah.
Because Tony Gonzalez was already in trouble. And that's the way the establishment works. That's what Vivek or whatever was talking about.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of Republicans are, they're sticking their heads in the sand about this. The party has been infiltrated by globalists, by Marxists. It has been infiltrated by corrupt, greedy people. And some would say it's always been there. Okay, fine. Look, but the Republican Party is supposed to be the party of values, the party of morality, of America's political conscience, and it's been infiltrated. And so Tony Gonzalez is in trouble in this race. He knows it, and they're going to have to resort to cheating. And so to hedge their bet real quick, the establishment has, I believe, inserted Victor Avila, and I got reasons for that. And I can substantiate
like he's from Dallas, but he's running in CD23.
Well, and then his associations. His association. Look, Tony Gonzalez was endorsed by the Libre Initiative.
Yep,
that's a pro-amnesty
PAC. Pro-amnesty.
Pro-amnesty. They are funded by the Koch brothers. They work hand in hand with Americans for Prosperity. They are open borders, cheap labor. The Chamber of Commerce Republicans who are actually putting out, the Koch brothers are putting out $70 million for anti-Trump advertising. They don't want Trump to run because Trump wants to secure the border, etc. Anyways, the Libre Initiative is a big player down here. They're making inroads there. They're partnering up with Republican Party county executive committees. They're hiring people to do block walking. I've been speaking with San Antonio people who are block walking for them right now. And they endorsed Tony Gonzalez. And they paid for his mailers. I still got the mailers here where they were paying for that. But they are also affiliated with Victor Avila, Raul. And I can prove that. I don't just want to say it. I got the pictures and everything to show that the Libre Initiative is also affiliated with Victor Avila. And that goes back to my post from several months ago. Who is the establishment going to insert as a bet, as a way to hedge their bet? They got to have two ponies in the race, brother. They're not satisfied with one. And
well,
so
I think a lot of it is also they thought you were going to come back, which you are, and I always say they needed this other Hispanic looking just in case, because they got to offset someone like you or me. And by the way, it's strategy, it's tactics or whatever. And let me give you some additional ones I think make it impossible for Tony to win. And if he does, guess what? You're absolutely cheating. And we've said this before. There is a phenomenal Senate race at the federal level that's going to take place in 2024. It is Ted Cruz. And we all want the Republican, staunch conservative Texan Ted Cruz, ostrich boot wearing cowboy to win. But Democrats, unlike any other time, have Roland Gutierrez, who is the Texas senator out of the San Antonio area. Frank, you know this. And then, of course, is it Colin Allred? He's the guy out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In fact, when I show Patrick's VTIX, all the open seats, that's Allred's seat. He's vacated the congressional seat, because I think that's where he's at, to go run for the Senate seat. Now, that said, there's another somebody, I don't know who it is, but the two big ones, folks, that you're going to watch in the Democrat primaries for senator to run against Ted Cruz is going to be Allred and, of course, Roland Gutierrez down here in San Antonio. And what I believe is every Democrat's going to hear the clarion call to go vote for their guy, because and I don't know that Hispanics want Roland, but what I'm saying is South Texas definitely wants Roland Gutierrez to run against Ted Cruz, because that would pit Hispanic against Hispanic, conservative, and then you've got a game changer at the national level. Colin Allred's got a lot of money as well. So the point here, folks, is kind of what Frank is saying, to add to the fact there's no way Tony wins, Mr. Gonzalez, unless he cheats, because guess what? One, he's lost his sugar daddy McCarthy. I said that earlier. And two, there is a primary heated run for the Senate seat on the Democrat side. and there won't be enough Democrats. They cannot expand any Democrats to come into. They're not going to save Tony. By the way, they hate him too, and you know this because I said that the last time they had the $50 million to law enforcement there in the city of San Antonio, and the city manager doesn't give him credit, folks. What he says, he says, listen, we appreciate the money, but we're going to get there a little faster, but we already planned this anyway. That's a big tell. So some of the things that really make this an interesting race for the primary for CD23 is, one, he's got money, but he no longer has the McCarthy backing, and the new speaker runs with sort of the Matt Gaetz, Chip Roy world, so they're not going to help him. The only people who are going to help him is someone like MTG. And of course, the heated race that's going to take place in the Democrat primaries to send the one person up against Ted Cruz. Every Democrat is going to be told, go vote in the Senate seat, which means you cannot go vote in the Republican primaries. I think it's going to be a low voter turnout. And if it is, it's going to be mostly the hard R's, Frank. You know who those are, right? Those are people that know who you are, who I am, and of course, who Gonzalez is. And he's been censured, folks. The odds of winning when you're censured with a primary run for Democrat to the Senate seat like it is now, when you lost your big sugar daddy like McCarthy, are almost zero. By the way, I saw a poll. I won't say where it came from, but it's a bona fide poll where Tony Gonzalez is sitting at 33%. Now, you know how good that was. I'm just telling you, I saw it, and I know of this poll, and 33% is another reason why you can't win. Incumbents who are hated by their constituency, but still want to keep him, usually run a 42, 43%. Mr. Gonzalez is running 33, so he's out the door. Now, that said, Frank, we got to have some bona fide candidates in this race.
Yeah.
You're one of them. We've got Julie Clark. We got Victor Avila, Brandon Herrera. Potentially, I'm going to be there. We'll decide here soon. Your thoughts on that, sir?
Well, look, we do need candidates to water down the vote. And what I mean by water down the vote is we got to get Tony Gonzalez under 50%. He's got to be in a runoff. Then everybody dogpiles on the guy. That's part of it. The other aspect of it, though, Raul, is, and this is me, man. As I looked at this field of candidates, honestly, brother, I was like, oh, man, I'm going to have to jump in this race for several different reasons. But one of them certainly was to give my friends, my family, my neighbors, my fellow Texans, a true choice, brother, a true choice, you know, and so look, if you jump in the race, and man, I would love for you to jump in the race, because with both of us in this race, we can get this guy under 50%, and conceivably, if people will wake up and will look at the quality of the two top candidates, because the moment you and I are in full blast, filing in the paperwork and everything, we're automatically at the top. All these other people are second tier, and I'm not dissing them. I'm just talking about name recognition, about the work that they've done, about the lack of work that they've done, lack of networking in this district. They started from ground zero. We've been at it since you and I met in 2019. We have a lot of relationships. A lot of people know us out here, and that's the truth, brother. So, but look. If we can jump in, conceivably, Raul, we could get this guy down to third place. Now, people will say, "Well, he's got a lot of money, he's got a lot of backing, and all that stuff."
I'm gonna tell you right now,
it doesn't matter,
Frank.
bro.
You've been to places. I've been traveling to West Texas here, and we stopped putting stuff on social media about the things we do. And by the way, I'm not in a campaign, but you and I have been active about talking to people about the border and solving real problems at the federal level, and they hate him. They absolutely hate him. I mean, I've never seen this before. Even Will Hurd was a likable guy, but they wanted him gone too because he showed his Democrat true colors. And but Tony kind of like people just like
it's bien sangrón, bro. You know the words. Bien sangrón.
I would use another word, but I'm not going to do it here. My pastor's probably watching.
He's a very arrogant guy.
I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah, he's very arrogant. He doesn't want to interact with people. He doesn't want to interact with. Yeah, he doesn't want to interact with people. He can't face the hard questions, and when people ask him hard questions, he gets defensive. And so that is something that I wanted to say about him. Look, you showed that clip of Kevin McCarthy talking to Matt Gaetz, and rightfully so, he pointed out to Tony Gonzalez because he's a cancer within the body. That's why I ran against him as an independent. I was trying to get rid of the cancer within the body, the Republican, supposedly home of the conservatives, etc. But anyways, there's an aspect to this, Raul, that the thuggery, because see, what if you were to keep rolling that scene where Kevin McCarthy approaches Matt Gaetz, one of Kevin McCarthy's, what do you call that? His troop, his party. I forget his posse or whatever you want to call him.
His minion. It was his minion. Yeah, he came over
and has to be
hold
restrained.
Yeah,
he has to be restrained because he wanted to go at Kevin McCarthy, at Matt Gaetz. And you see the picture where he's got him by the face and he's pulling him back.
Listen, it's by the way, if people don't know, so Matt Gaetz actually filed a complaint or something, really tough, file against McCarthy, because McCarthy literally put an elbow into the kidney of Burgess, Representative Burgess,
so that's what
who was on MSNBC, I think, having a conversation about he said
it was NPR. I think it was
NPR, and he said, and he said, I'm gonna, they asked him, how are you gonna? Well, we're praying over that, and the guy literally laughs at him because he's praying, and he mocks. He mocks him. I think it was MSNBC or CNN, and but that's who Representative Burgess is. And so Kevin McCarthy puts an elbow into him. And Matt Gaetz has filed a grievance of sorts. For the record here, this is the absurdity of what we're talking about, because, we had some of these encounters with Gonzalez when we were out there. I mean, we kept that kind of hush hush because, I mean, we don't want to, we're not into that. I mean, the bottom line, I do remember that he called me the cartel. And I mean,
and so what I wanted to say about that, Raul, was, look, you're right. That's the posse that hangs out with Kevin McCarthy, because that's the kind of person he is. That guy, Kevin McCarthy, elbowed that dude in the back, hit him in the kidney, and he was with NPR or PBS, one of those. Yeah. But that speaks to the bully thug that Kevin McCarthy is, but that's also the kind of people he runs around with. And you remember Tony Gonzalez. Remember the way he threatened Dominic Dina in San Antonio? Some people may not remember.
He was running, for everybody who doesn't know, Dominic Dina was running for Congress against Castro, I think, at that time. And he lost in the primary. But you're right. He threatened him in public.
He threatened Dominic on a Facebook post because he was making some statements, allegations about you. And Dominic said, hey, man, where's the proof to all this crap that you're saying? We all knew it was lies. And so Tony Gonzalez says, it was all lies, but he says, don't start with me or you'll be next.
By the way, this Tony Gonzalez also, I'm told, and I don't know this for a fact, threatened one of the commissioners who's actually supporting him now. So maybe he got him to bend the knee. I'm going to leave that alone because what I'm going to be very clear. It's just rumor. It's and I'm not saying what commissioner. It could be in some other county somewhere else or here. It doesn't really matter. But that's the thuggery that we're dealing with. So some people have bent the knee to this guy, and we're not going to do that. I listen. I'm from San Felipe Barrio in Del Rio. We don't want to get like that, folks. Back there it says Lieutenant Colonel, former commander. I mean, we're trying to be pragmatic here. Frank is a Border Patrol, retired
a chaplain and ordained minister, but
right, and nobody's going to know more about the border than that guy right there, and of course, I spend a lot of time down in Central and South America. So for anybody who is still convinced that Tony's the guy, I can't help you. And
the reason I throw that in, Raul, is because look, there's a time for everything. A time to laugh and grieve and weep, and a time to fight. And so Tony Gonzalez, he is the epitome of the worst type of politician. Everything bad you can think about a politician, a liar, a bully, corrupt, a thug, a traitor, a hypocrite. He is all that. But look, there's aspects of Tony that I'm working also to expose on him. And it has to do with his donors, and it has to do with child labor, brother. And so that's going to come out as well. There's a lot of things about this guy that people don't know. And so what he's doing, getting back to, the dynamic, the formula for winning in this district, Raul, is people have got to wake up. There has to be a tremendous, somebody here posted, I'm looking at it. Everyone share this link and let your friends know this has to be a grassroots like never before. It's what Melinda Keller Pennell says. And that's true, brother. That is the way that we beat big money, is by word of mouth, by sharing, people talking to people, getting the word out. It can be done. And people need to move beyond these paradigms, these boxes that they are in, that has to be, the guy with the coat and the tie and all this, all this kind of that you hold to, subscribe to Reagan's 11th commandment and all that. When you are gasping for your breath, when little boys and little girls are getting their inner parts exploded because they're being raped, brother, they're being damaged forever. People are dying from fentanyl. It is a time to fight, and it is a time to do something about this. I'm sorry about that. It's a time it's time to call out and take the fight to this guy. He along that thug, mentality that Tony Gonzalez is. He gave that statement. I think it was a day or two after I had launched my exploratory committee. He says, "Hey, you think you can take me out? I'll take you to the deep end of the pool and drown you." Who talks like that, brother? I mean, honestly,
listen, I jokingly almost want to come on my show with the goggles and the snorkels, and and I may do it just because that's such a stupid thing, but let me say this: as you were talking, I kept thinking, there is a lot of organizations out there with the Republican name on it, and who are going to endorse this guy because he gave them money, and what I'm going to say, and I've said this before, is you cannot start to in the March to November after the primary, if you manage to get Tony Gonzalez through, or any of these other rhinos like your Dade Phelans and your Briscoe Canes of this world, you cannot start to gaslight people by saying, "Oh, let's just keep it red," and "Oh, we've got Hispanics are culturally conservative. You can't vote for Democrats." Blah blah blah, and then try to sell us just a fake Republican like Gonzalez and Dade Phelan and Briscoe Cain. And I mention all these other names because it's not just the federal level; it's at the state level, and Republican organizations. You're going to have to decide, and you cannot complain why your group goes smaller and smaller, and there culturally isn't more Hispanics and or blacks or other people of different demographics who we're telling you they don't trust you because you keep endorsing and supporting people like Gonzalez and Dade Phelan and Briscoe Cain and a lot of these people that just absolutely have no interest in representing their constituents. I've always said this, and listen, this is another, the birds are telling us, and it's all rumors, so I cannot, but we're hearing that a guy like Gonzalez goes to Ukraine because he's doing what everybody else is doing. They're making money off of that war and getting their kickbacks. Now, I'm going to be very curious to see how rich he is. So if I jump in, let me tell you something. We're going to be looking at that because what we want to know is how rich are you at 172 a year? Because that's what they make, 170, maybe 180,000 a year. With all the travel back and forth to DC, there's no way you're a millionaire. But everybody who's graduated or stopped serving as a congressman, Frank, seems to always roll out with $7 or $8 million of pocket change because somehow they got paid off. And that's really the part. I abhor that. And the biggest thing for me is that he's a vendido. For most people, that's a sellout. You cannot sell out your constituency. If you gave them your word that you were going to go try to secure this border, you can't get in bed with the NGOs because this is what he did. And I'm going to show the picture right here. This is Tony Gonzalez at the Border Mission Hope having a conversation with the director about how he's going to pledge all his support to give them money. You cannot be over here with Escobar at the Annunciation House in El Paso and then convince me that you didn't have anything to do with what's going on at the border. I mean, freaking give me a break. And so the evidence is there. And I think I hear what you're saying. Look, a lot of respect for a lot of the candidates that are running. They, come January, they're going to showcase what they have to do or what they have to say. But if you're not exposing this moron for who he is, you're already not, oh, I'm going to keep it positive and all that. All he's going to do is convince everybody that he's a real Republican because he's got a lot more money. And that may be why they don't like a guy like me, because I didn't come here to be a hypocrite. If you're not a Republican, I'm going to call you out. Back to the Republican organizations. If you want to be real conservative, real Republicans, start acting like it and call it like it is. Guys like Tony, guys like Briscoe, guys like Dave Phelan, it's time to boot them out of the Republican Party, or guys like that guy and me and a whole lot of other people of this community and this culture, to include Black America, are not going to come to the Republican Party. And I'm not afraid to say that, because I'm a guy that's convinced that we are conservative, all Americans, black, white, yellow, doesn't matter what it is. But since they want to talk Latino and Hispanic, let me tell you something. They don't trust you, which is why, and you said this earlier, I want your input on this. Robert Kennedy Jr. is running. He's doing what you did. He says, the hell with the Democrat Party, because they're not going to give me a chance to get in here. Same thing here. He's running as an independent. I think, and because people don't understand, especially down here in South Texas, all the way to California, they're highly Catholic and highly Kennedy Democrat. So if they see that name, it's going to impact both on the Republican and the Democrat side. I haven't figured out who it's going to impact the most. Does that help Trump? Does that help Biden? But here's the one thing. I think the numbers are going to be huge for Robert Kennedy, even though they're going to have to do what happened with you, Frank. They're going to have to do something with the numbers, because they cannot have sort of like this Ross Perot thing happen, because I think Robert Kennedy is going to have a bigger impact than most people think. Not so much because, he's, John F. Kennedy, but because he carries the Kennedy name, and culturally Black and Hispanic America have a kinship to the Kennedy family from way back then. And Robert Kennedy may not be the same. He's probably not the same as John Kennedy, but he's a hell of a lot better than Biden. And people are wondering, with Ronna McDaniel, McCarthy, who's gone, but a whole bunch of rhinos in the Republican Party, we've kind of given them no choice, right, Frank?
Yeah. And look, people can see through people, bro. I mean, as I've been out there talking with folks out there, they'll say things like, "No, man, that's just a slick package there." I mean, I don't trust a slick package. People can see the shadiness. They can see the schmarmy kind of people who are just smooching and doing it all to be in the camera and to be in the moment, doing what people think politicians should do: take a lot of pictures, smile, kiss babies, that kind of stuff. And there's here in America, brother, people are tired of that. You were talking about Kennedy. The first thing that pops in my head, a time in America when our Democrat president, John F. Kennedy, stood up against the Russians. We came to the brink of World War III, with the Cuban Missile Crisis. And at that point, it wasn't about Republican or Democrat. It was about an American president doing what was best, a very gutsy move by John F. Kennedy. And the Russians backed down. Why? Because people respect strength, brother. They respect strength. They respect leadership. They can see it when it is true. And so that is what is in this district. That is what people are yearning for. They want true leadership. Tony Gonzalez has revealed himself to folks. They see him for what he is, and they're tired of it. And so that's why a person like Robert Kennedy, I think, will appeal to folks that are they're jaded on the parties. And so there'll be some siphoning off. I believe some Republican siphoning off, and primarily from those that are never Trumpers. They'll get some of that never Trump. He'll get some of that vote over there, perhaps. But look, I saw a post today. Somebody said, that the base for these rhinos is the Republican Party, and part of the Republican, obviously, but it's the conservatives who ascribe to what you said earlier. Oh man, just vote red, keep it red. Yeah, he sucks, but he's our rhino, he's our Republican, and
He's our
R in the
SOB.
column.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and so people are tired of that, Raul. As especially as they see what is happening to our country, the very real threat of terrorism from these Hamas, supporters. I was talking with Manny Rodriguez earlier this morning on the other show about we are just a degree removed. All it takes is a flashpoint. And I believe that these people are going to act. And for Department of Homeland Security, whether cybersecurity, a propaganda machine, and they're censoring conservative voices like ours. I'm speaking to those people. The real threat is not the America First patriot. The real threat to America is not the person who believes in the Word of God and who believes in the traditional principles that made this country great. The real threat is the left. The real threat is the horde of military-age men that is now in our country. The real threat is that culture of death, which is the America-hating, Israel-hating, a movement that is evident even in San Antonio, even in Austin, here in Texas, brother. It's here. It's real.
Well, there's a lot of Palestine sympathizers, supporters.
Yeah,
I mean, the not just in England, folks, and France, but here in the United States, they're out there in protest. Remember, these are the same people that went into the Capitol, but nobody got arrested for insurrection, by the way, just so you know, even though they went into the dome like the January 6th folks who were let in. And oh, by the way, it's another sidekick here, but Tony Gonzalez voted for the January 6th, and he's taken a lot of money from all the mega media, Facebook, Google. You can just look it up on his FEC. The guy's a complete sellout. If you have a First Amendment issue, you can blame that guy. If you have a border issue, you can blame that guy.
Okay.
If you have a problem with all the social issues that you don't want the government to decide at that level, but that we Texans want to decide down here, you can blame that guy because he keeps voting against traditional marriage. He keeps voting against just all kinds of things, and on and on and on. The list is huge with this guy. Again, I think you're right, Frank. There's no way he wins. And if he does, then we need to just start prepping because there's no way to win these things because they're going to get cheated. I don't think I don't think that's going to happen. I think even the people who brought in Tony Gonzalez have given up on him. And so the matter of fact is just to get enough candidates in this race, solid candidates like yourself, and to take the battle to Tony. One thing I can count on for sure, Frank, and I think you're going to know I'm right, is there's not going to be a debate with Tony Gonzalez because he's going to pretend like he did with John Lida that he doesn't exist and move about like nothing ever happened because he wasn't challenged in 2020, but now he's a total mess in 2022, hanging out with Marjorie Taylor Greene, whom a lot of people still think is a conservative, but to me has gotten a little bit left to center. In fact, Laura Loomer, who is part of the Trump sort of, I guess, I call them the cyber ninjas because she's always on Twitter just taking everything down that you would say against Trump. Has really dressed down Marjorie Taylor Greene. So she would do us a favor if she's listening to take down Tony Gonzalez as well. So, Frank, we're coming up on 15 minutes after. Give me the last 30 seconds. What are your thoughts? Your way forward? I mean, I see the sign in the back. What do you think? Give me the last minute or so.
Yeah, look, I'm in this race. I will look. You don't need a burning bush, God speaking from a burning bush, or bolt of lightning to know what you've got to do, brother. This has got to be done. And so I'm going to be throwing my name into this race because I want to give Texans a real choice in this district. I want a true fighter up there. So we have until December 11th to file. And so what I'm asking people is go to my website, usborderpatriot.com, and help me out. I've got to pay the filing fee to get on the ballot, and then from there, money for mail outs or whatever else, travel, whatever. But people need to step up. Look, Raul, I think about the revolutionary days where people melted down their silverware to cast bullets. They gave their treasure, they gave their time, they gave everything because the fight was real. And this fight is real. But people need to step up. They need to get involved. If they can't donate, they can volunteer. This is a huge district, 29 counties.
Yeah.
We need people activated in each county, stirring it up, talking to people, getting the word out there that Tony Gonzalez is going down, and you've got a true fighter on the scene. I hope you jump in, brother. I hope you jump in. I got no qualms about it. I was your campaign manager. I know you. You're one of my best friends. I think that this district, Texas, America, would be well served with either one of us jumping in there and taking this away from Tony and beating him, and then going to DC and fighting the true fight. We've got to strangle these NGOs' money. We've got to stop that. We have got to go after these huge contracts, the transportation fleets of buses that are out here, all these facilities. We've got to shut them down. We need to be pushing to stop the weaponization of these agencies against Americans. We are not the enemy, brother. We love America. America first. Patriots love America. But we know that we are seen as the enemy, so we need to go after them. Certainly, follow the money. We have got to stop spending money like there is no tomorrow. Look, Raul, I said this before. I left 5 years on the table. I retired because I knew that there was something, other thing God wanted me to do. But I always knew that we needed to tighten our belts. And what I mean by that is federal employees, we would be probably the first to take a hit, but we need to stop spending money the way we're spending money like crazy. We need to look at these research grants for
money to Ukraine, Frank, like to the billions of dollars. Yeah,
we need to stop all that, and we need people that are willing to go fight. Tony Gonzalez, when he is brought up, the first thing he says is give more visas, hire more attorneys, hire more immigration judges, hire more border patrol. Why? Just to process faster. So I'm in this race, Raul, and I'll be going up to Austin here before the deadline for submitting my paperwork up there. And I just need people to step up. They've been pushing, prodding, twisting my arm, calling, texting. Well, now is show me the money time. And I'm not saying that as a greedy person. I'm saying that, it does take some money. You don't need to be, millions of dollars. People would say, well, you need that. No, but you do need some for gas money, etc., to get around. But our work ethic, Raul, you know that. We will work hard, but for me,
we need help. This requires a little help from all those folks that really want to change, and everything counts, folks. So give me that website one more time, and we'll have Linda Ruski put it in the comments, and then we'll make sure that people know it's there.
Yeah, so it's usborderpatriot.com. usborderpatriot.com.
Awesome, brother. We're gonna wind it down here. Thank you. God bless you for coming on board, and we'll do it again Sunday. We miss you on Sundays. For the love of God, Jesus Christ podcast. So anyway, we're on at 7:00 with Frank and a few other folks that just talk Jesus and the wonderful thing that God is. So anyway, God bless you, brother. We will talk to you later.
Take care, bro.
Okay? All right. Thank you, sir. All right, folks, there you have it. A little long, but that's okay. We're having fun here. And I wanted to bring Frank in because, he's going to be in the race. And I've said this before, we're looking to be in the race as well. Our trusty technicians on the backside here for a couple of days have been loading up all the emails that I have from back in CD23. We're going to, before the week's over, you're going to get an email from me that says, hey, do you want us in this race? And I'm not asking for money. You just got to put in your email so that Tony Gonzalez doesn't send a bunch of minions, and because they do that, they're just bots. So all I need is your email. You get to vote. Go for it or don't go for it. And ultimately, it's like what Frank says, some of us are just driven to do the thing that needs to get done when it's required. Sitting back and watching not just Tony Gonzalez. I mean, we'd be on that guy all day long, but but your McCarthy's, your Dade Phelans, people who have lied to us about being Republican or conservative for that matter. And all they wanted to do was go into office and do the bidding of their puppet masters, because that's who paid them the money to go run for these campaigns. And we're all tired of that. So Frank's genuine. I'm genuine. We love God. We love this country. And sometimes we're called to step out, even when it's the most uncomfortable, economically almost impossible. But like David, we will pick up our pebbles and we will fling it at Goliath, and then God will decide if we hit him right square between the eyes. And so, with all that said, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Hey, on Sundays, you got to check us out on Sundays here at 7 o'clock. We go a little bit earlier as you're winding it down and you just want to thank God for the things that have happened and pray with us for the week that's coming up. Just show up at 7 o'clock right here. Frank is part of the crew. We got Rich Reese, another fantastic Christian, just knows the Bible, and our longtime friend, Ed Garza. I've known him for 30 years. Loves Jesus Christ as well. We get on here and we talk about, daily events and worldly events, but mostly we glorify God and give Jesus all the glory. And so, with that said, Sunday, don't forget about us here. Pray for us. We are looking to jump into this race. I can't guarantee it 100%, but I'm going to send you an email. Look for it in the next 2 or 3 days. Am I right? I'm looking back here at the technicians, all 5 of them. And you can't see them because we got them behind the wall over here. But the bottom line, and be on the lookout. Look at your junk email in case it goes there. If you signed up for my email a long time ago, it should not go to your junk pile. But if it does, go looking for it just in case. And we may get on here and just let people know that, hey, it's out. We're going to send it 2 or 3 times. I want to know. I just want to know, like Frank, will you support us? Do you want us to jump in? Put it in the comments and let us know. And because we're a little bit tired of being raked over the coals but not just Democrats and the Biden administration, but fake Republicans. And we have nowhere else to go because none of us want to go be Democrats, but we're a little tired of the Republican Party run by McCarthy and Ronna McDaniels with guys like Tony Gonzalez who have just completely lied to us in our face. They won't even meet with us. Last one, I triple dog dare you to tell me when's the last time you saw Tony in an open forum town hall. Del Rio hasn't seen him. Eagle Pass hasn't seen him. Uvalde hasn't seen them. Not here in San Antonio. Everything is corralled and taken care of. And so we've had enough of that. You ought to be able to stand in front of your constituents and take it in the face because you voted the wrong way or you voted the right way. In any case, all that. I hope you had some fun watching me and Frank. And next week we'll have another. We're trying to get General Flynn on here. We'll see if that happens. We've invited him. He's got a busy schedule. We might bring Sid Miller back here. He was with us here about 7 or 8 months ago. Hopefully we can get him here. We've invited Chip Roy, but he is kind of busy. So we'll see what happens with that. And if Donald Trump is listening, come on down, sir. We'd love to ask you a lot of questions and give you a platform here in South Texas to just talk to the people that are out there. So. Yes, the technicians are saying share this post, share this video, and more importantly, send us your email. You can PM me, just send it, and we're not going to sell it. We're not going to do anything. We'll add you to the email list about what we're going to announce and how we're going to go about it, and whether we decide we're going to be in or not. Frank's in. We're still, we've got a lot of things we're thinking about here, big decisions here. And but we'll see what happens. Okay, with all that said, God bless you guys. Have a good night. We will see you on Sunday at 7 o'clock if you just want to partake of good old Christian conversation with some other fellers. And if not, Tuesday next week, 8 o'clock, tune in. And so you're not tuned out. God bless you and good night.